Hello and welcome to the video. So in today's video, I want to talk about how I made 10k from my mum's spare room. This is a few years ago, so I want to kind of walk through exactly what I did with the goal for you to kind of learn and understand a little bit more about these type of things and hopefully take it into your own life and, money. So yeah, how I made 10k from my mum's spare room. So this is back in the day when I was actually working as a sales executive at Anytime Fitness. It's maybe a little bit smaller. Yeah, I was actually working as a sales executive at Anytime Fitness, and I was making around 17k a year. So after deductions, national insurance, tax and stuff, was around 1,150. Big smile on my face. I loved working in the gym, but yeah, not a lot of money, right? So it was at this time that I actually started to get into YouTube. I had a channel back in the day when I was a lot younger, still in secondary school with a friend. If you've been on my channel before, you probably know the story, but didn't go to plan. But anyway, when I started making vlogs and kind of documenting our life in the gym, I used a old YouTube channel, or I used my current YouTube channel, which was literally just used as a way of uploading my college project. So you can see some here like After Effects, Smoke Effect. That was in 2013. And then I started uploading YouTube videos when I was working in the gym here in around 2017. Well, it was actually the 12th of January, 2017. New year, new me, apparently. And then we got to here. So I started posting super consistently, but had no vision, no plans, no goals. I didn't even know you could make money from YouTube at this point. I just really liked the process of making videos. And like I said, I had a YouTube channel before that really back then I had absolutely no idea that you can make money from these things. It was just a way of me kind of being creative and just expressing my creativity. But this is where stuff kind of got interesting for me, because members would actually come up to me and talk to me about videos and even want to be in some of the videos. And I've unlisted a lot of them, but I mean, some of them are still available to kind of watch. But you'll constantly see, members in the videos and wanting to engage and get in the videos, which was really, really cool to see. But then obviously it also got me thinking, wow, like, what, people are actually watching these videos? Like, I wish you could go back and watch some of them, because they were just nuts. Like, they were just us absolutely just messing about in the gym. During this time is also when I would go ahead and start researching like heavily into YouTube, social media, and just, wanting to make better videos just for myself, like constantly wanting to get better at, storytelling, how to make thumbnails and all stuff like that. And that led me to YouTube. It's like a weird paradox, right? But yeah, going to YouTube to essentially try and learn how to improve my YouTube videos was the long and short of it. And this is actually during a time where I was building my Instagram account as well. So it wasn't just like predominantly, I mean, it was typically YouTube, but it was like, well, I'm building on these other platforms as well. So at this time I built up my then current Instagram account, which was literally just all fitness. And if you go back to some of those old YouTube videos, you'll see like my intro was, God, what was the actual name of it at the time? Anyway, I'll find it. I'll put it up somewhere. But yeah, this is when I got pretty gassed, right? Because I hit 10k followers on Instagram, and at the time you needed 10k followers to do the story swipe up. And me being pretty naive at the time, just thought like, yo, like when I hit 10k followers on Instagram, people can swipe on my stories. Like the YouTube videos are going to start getting mad views. Didn't happen, obviously, but yeah, during this time as well is also when I got heavily into self-development, which had me reading a ton of business books or, self-development books, which led me further and further down the rabbit hole of just like researching different ways to make money and to, build something online. So after a while, I kind of had that realization of like, well, I've spent all of this time learning and developing these skills for, you know, social media and building systems and everything that goes into the back end, right? Because people look at a YouTube video and you think, oh wow, like that's quite easy. But as soon as you jump in, you realize, you know, there's so much beneath the surface of a YouTube video, you know, researching, scripting, writing, you know, writing the script, the same thing. But, you know, you get my point. There's so much that goes into it. And I was like, well, how can I use these skills to essentially make money from it? Back down the rabbit hole we went. And I ended up finding a mentor on YouTube, binged all of his content. Big up Bradley, if you're, I doubt you'll be watching this, but yeah, this was obviously years and years and years ago, and it wasn't even really like a thing back then. But I ended up finding a mentor, binge all of his content, and ended up signing for his program. And it was, I think it was around £400. It might have been a little bit cheaper than that, maybe 350 or something. But I ended up signing up to it, and then ended up making ended up signing a client after I signed up for it within 2 weeks, and ended up, you know, making the money back on it straight away. And I knew that I was onto something with the kind of formula that he was teaching inside of it. So when I originally signed up to Upwork, was like the main kind of premise of it, that I was going to sign up to Upwork and I was going to just stick to something really, really basic of like 10 proposals a day was kind of like my goal. And that led me to sign quite a few clients within those first couple of months. And because of that new conviction that I had, that new, you know, I was like, wow, my first client was an American client as well. So like being able to, you know, back in the day, like being able to tell someone like, yeah, I got a client in the USA. Wow. Like, you know, it was quite cool to kind of think of it back now. But that's when like something just switched in my mind, because I was like, wow, like I was doing social media management for her, by the way. But I was like, wow, like the opportunity is kind of endless, right? If you can get someone to kind of come onto a service that you've kind of laid out and you can execute remotely, I was like, this is insane. And during this time when I started picking up a bunch of clients, I remember, like, other than going to work at that time, like I would just be ghost mode in the bedroom on Upwork, creating content for other people and just like sending it to them, just doing everything I could to just get in front of people for like social media content creation and video editing was a massive thing. So anyway, like that all kind of happened. Obviously, I was doing well from Upwork. I was kind of looking at other ways of being able to make money and stuff. But I just had so much conviction, confidence around it that my YouTube videos started to kind of change from, you know, obviously just documenting what we're doing in the gym. Like I said, there was no value. There was no there's no kind of thought process around it. It was just like, we've got to be in the gym today. Let me press record. You know, if anything funny happens, like it was just a way of kind of documenting what we was doing. But then we had a bit of a switch up, because I started getting these clients and they started asking me questions, and, you know, I would answer the questions. And because I was a video guy, usually the way that I would deliver the answer to the question that a client had was through a video. One of the questions that one of my clients had back in the day was, how can I record a podcast remotely? Something loosely around those terms. And I was like, well, you could just use Zoom. Like, but actually, no, I think the original idea around what someone said was like, they come to me and I was like, wow, like I'd really love to start a podcast, this particular client. And I was like, cool. Like, what guests have you got in mind? And they kind of said a few guests, and I was like, okay, who else? Because like when you start a podcast, you there's a stat around podcasting, which is like, I think, I don't know, like the typical podcast only lasts 6 episodes or stuff. So I was trying to drill that into him of like, we need to think of it more long term, right? And the kind of concept that we got to in the end of it was like, well, if you did it remotely, then the pool of people that you can invite to be a guest is so much larger than if you went and rent like a studio and, you know, you're in a physical location. And of course you've got the the expense of having to pay for a studio to start recording your podcast, which ultimately we know from day one is not going to be making any money from day one, right? So you're in red from day one. So my idea was, well, if you do it remotely, you can do it on Zoom, you can start getting people on, you can probably do 100 episodes before you think, hey, we've actually got traction here. Now let's go and do some like in-person IRL podcast. So that's how this video come about. I created the video how to record a podcast on Zoom. And what I did inside of the video is I actually subconsciously kind of created my first real offer, other than like Upwork, where you're kind of like, if anyone doesn't know how Upwork works, it's kind of like Indeed or Read, where people will put jobs out, but they're specifically looking for freelancers, not like full-time employees. So I was kind of used to being like reaching out to people that were already warm, right? Not actually having like an offer. It would kind of be like, this person said they want X, Y, and Z. Cool, I can do that. Versus like someone actually coming to me and I'm like, hey, here's what I offer. So it was an interesting one to kind of then put this out. And I, like I said, subconsciously at the end of it, I didn't even do it intentionally. I'm happy and honest to admit it, that at the end of the video, I literally say, hey, like, if you found value from this and, you know, you feel like it's something that I could help you with, rather than you having to go through and kind of learn and pick up this skill set, because this is a skill set as well, because I go in how to like edit it and how to distribute it, etc. But anyway, at the end of the video, I say, hey, if you want me to come in and actually do this for your business, rather than you actually having to go in and learn it yourself, there's a link to my calendar, the first link in the description. And it started getting people booking into my diary. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And obviously the video ended up doing really, really well, which, made money from AdSense and stuff as well. But we're really talking about the service element of it, right? And just to put it into here, we did about $7,000 through Stripe during that time. And I did about $3,000 on PayPal, I believe, which I no longer have access to because F PayPal. But yeah, this broke down into a couple of different like amounts as well. You see, predominantly all of the clients that I was getting through this were US clients, but we had some, pretty low ticket stuff in there. We had some like high ticket stuff in here, like the 500s, 500 a month and stuff. Not, massively high ticket, but like I said, this was my first kind of spin at this world. And ultimately, like, it was this video that was doing the heavy lifting, right? And this is why I'm so passionate about YouTube as well, because obviously I work in sales. And, I work for a SaaS company as of today, which I absolutely love. I absolutely adore the job. But sales is such a funny thing, right? And we'll do a separate video on this probably. But like with sales, there's a couple of things that you kind of need to tick off, right? You need to tick off someone liking you. You need to tick off someone knowing you, and you need to tick off someone trusting you as a sales guy. This is before they even think about your product, right? So you need someone to like you. You need someone to know you. You need someone to trust you before they go ahead and purchase something for you. And this also is the same with a company, right? They need to like, know, and trust your company. If you're, speaking to someone and they don't know anything about your company, then you've got a job to do to kind of bridge that gap before they're going to be ready to buy. But imagine if every sales call that you jumped on, someone had already watched this video. Do you know what I mean? Right? Imagine every single time that someone jumped on a sales call with you, they had already gone through and spent 10 to 20 minutes with you, right? So they've already spent this here. Do you think they're going to like, know, and trust me a lot more than if they had just booked in a call through my website and, just whatever the copy was on there and, they booked in a call? Absolutely. They're going to like, know, and trust you so much more if they've watched this video before booking in a call. And ultimately, when you do this, right, This sales call is not a sales call, right? This sales call is not a sales call. When someone goes through, watches this video, books in a call with you, they already like you enough to book in a call. They already know you enough to book in a call. They already trust you enough to book in a call. This call now becomes a qualification call on your end of, is this person suitable for the products that I offer? And a good thing to kind of think about here is, if they are not a good candidate for this offer, then please tell them, right? And tell them the reasons to why. And people will love you even more for that if you're open and honest and say, look, I don't actually think you're quite where you need to be to kind of go ahead with this service or whatever, right? But anyway, this one video made me around 10 grand just through creating this on there. And that was never the intention behind it. So what can we kind of learn from this and kind of look back on it? One, YouTube is the absolute daddy for nurturing your audience. Two, YouTube is the way to generate leads on autopilot. And three, you can quite literally clone yourself by creating videos online. And having all of the systems and the processes in place allowed me to be very, 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 very smallly involved in this process of essentially, to some extent, printing money, right? Because this video was doing the work for me. I'd set up systems and processes underneath it. So as soon as a new client come on board for this particular service that I was offering, I had a freelancer, I had a team member that was delivering that service, and I was kind of just the middleman, which 9 times out of 10 is kind of how business works, unless you're like a solopreneur. And I did the solo side of it for a very long time as well. It was only when I got past that point of like scaling that I was like, well, you know, instead of taking the $500 profit, well, maybe I could just pay someone $200 to go and do all of the work, but then I'm still, taking that drink on top, if you like. But it's interesting to me to think about, the way that we can kind of use these social platforms, and that these long form videos, and like when you're delivering value, is how people like, know, and trust you, right? So it's the same here, right? If you've watched this whole video of me, 18 minutes and 55 seconds, and you didn't know who I was before you clicked on it, you're going to know me a lot more now, right? Versus before you clicked on the video. And it's the same with like TikTok, right? TikTok's great. Do not get me wrong, but YouTube is where you'll actually be able to build a relationship with people, or people will feel like they're building a relationship with you, because it's long form. You're sitting in a room with me. Yeah, ultimately, like that's how I kind of did it. Combination of just throwing stuff out there, trying stuff, saying yes to stuff, doing free work for people, and just continuing to kind of change what I'm doing as well, in order to follow your curiosity, right? Because if I sat there and just was like, oh well, this person's asking about it, but it's not really relevant to anyone else, then I probably wouldn't have made that video. And if you go and watch that video as well, probably like the disclaimer for you is, if you watch that video, it is terrible. It is terrible. And I literally even opened the video with saying, like, almost as like a bit of an excuse to people, that like people will use the fact that they've not got the perfect setup, they've not got a perfect computer, they've not got a perfect camera to start videoing and creating videos. Things will never be perfect, never. So get out of your mind, start taking action towards your goal. And with that being said, action towards your goal, I recently built a 3-day 3 programs called the 3-day reset, which goes all into, I'll actually pull it up because we're on a laptop. The 3-day reset, and it goes into, well, how to build a morning routine that moves the needle, how to organize your life with software and systems, how to find the right skill for you to master, why you need a personal brand, how to find your people, and much more. It's a completely free program to go through, and a byproduct of that, enrolling in that program, is you also get access to my new community, which is DAF Club. My goal with that is to just get, every person that is wanting to improve and better themselves, whether that's through sales, fitness, or marketing. That's the three main kind of pillars and concepts inside a community. So, yeah, if you'd like to, I'll leave a link in the description. First link in the description will be for the 3-day reset, but you'll get access to the community for that as well. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you soon.